Hello, welcome to All Things Odd. I'm Dr. Natalie Phillips.
And I'm Mary Kate.
Hi. All right. So we have a fun topic for you guys today, but we are going to do something really quick. Let me get our YouTube channel up and I'll have Mary Kate talk about that real quick.
Yeah, so this is our YouTube channel. It's got all of our old videos from our different web shows, and we kind of divvy them up and put them into categories so they're easier to navigate. And so they're kind of sectioned off by the category. And so you can take a look at that and look at all of our old videos. And it's also really helpful for anyone who doesn't have Facebook to go ahead and access our old videos because it's all on YouTube.
Yep. And you can hit this little notification bell up at the top too. If you're not on Facebook and you're watching this, there's a notification bell on the top of the YouTube page here so that you know when we are going live. But we're typically here every Thursday at 12:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time with a new episode. So today, Mary Kate came up with a great topic to talk about. And whoopsie. And we're going to talk about just alternatives to communicate with people that might have a hearing loss. And so there are different things that we're going to talk about, but I'm going to start off with some of the history. And I thought that we talk about this because we're kind of generational differences here. And so the first part is, when people first start to when they are starting to, well, let me back up first. I have a picture here I'm going to put up here because I think it's kind of funny. Here we go. And I'm going to make sure that we can kind of see this here. So back in the day, and I wanted to talk about this because I think that, I'm trying to look and see where I put the picture. There was a thing called TTY. So I'm going to talk while I'm trying to look for my picture here. So it was called TTY. And there was a relay service as well, because basically people that had a hearing loss were not able to necessarily talk on the phone, obviously, right? Like you ask, like, how are they able to talk on the phone? All right. So I literally can't find my picture that I found. I think there it is. Okay. So there is a scientist called Robert Whitebrecht, who was a deaf scientist, and he actually developed the first teletypewriter, which is the TTY. Okay, that means it's up somewhere here. I have so many windows open, I cannot find it, Mary Kate.
I think it might be like if you click window in the sharing thing.
Yeah. There we go. Oh, that's not the picture that we're looking for. Sorry about that. Okay, so I had a picture of a TTY, the teletypewriter, basically, but he invented it in the 1960s, and hopefully I'll try to find it while Mary Kate's talking as well. But he started and he found it in the, he developed it in the 1960s, and then what happened was in the late 1970s and through the 1980s, these devices got a lot smaller and compact, and they were manufactured and distributed through the state level through these TTY or teletypewriters equipment distribution programs. And I wanted to talk about this because I've actually used a TTY and a TTY relay system. So those of you audiologists that are following this, or maybe people that are watching that have hearing loss and were back in the day when I was as well, we know what these are. So Mary Kate, I was going to ask you, I told her, I was like, I'm not going to show you what we're talking about because I want to see if you've actually heard of this or played around with a TTY system. So have you?
I have not. I've always seen like the TTY abbreviation, and I knew that it was to help people with hearing loss communicate a little easier, but I actually never knew what it stood for. And I have not used one, no.
Okay, so I'm trying to see if I can get open this picture that I have sitting right here. But what's interesting is that when I actually used it, see if I can find another way to bring up another picture. There was one in the clinic when I was being trained, and then also there was a relay system. And so how it worked basically is, I'm all over the place here. Sorry about that. Okay. So how it worked basically is that you would, if I can get that picture up, you basically would put your telephone, which actually was a a receiver, like a hand held telephone, and you'd put it on this machine, and then you would type. It looks like a little typewriter, and basically that would allow you to, whoever was talking to you, it would come through this machine and it would come up as captions basically on this machine. And when you used, if you didn't have a machine, if it wasn't distributed to you, then you'd have to call into a relay operator. And I think it was in college. I had a couple of deaf friends, and I actually had to use a relay operator. And I thought it was interesting to talk about because it's something that maybe you haven't tried before. But with this relay operator, I would call in. I would say that I'm trying to call my friend. They called them for me, and then this relay operator was an in between my conversation and my friend who had a TTY machine at home. And so there were different etiquettes and different things that you would say so that the operator would know. And there was always this delay, right? Because with this type of relay, it basically, the conversation can only flow one way, right? And then you've got to wait, and then the person has to type back. Then the relay operator reads it to me, and then I talk back. The relay operator has to type so that the person on the other end can see the captions. So it would take quite a while. And there are certain things that you would say, like I remember saying stop, or stop keying, or go ahead, or GA for short, or SK for short. So that way the operator would know that I was done talking, and then she or he would stop typing, and vice versa. So there was all this like etiquette and like this protocol that you had to follow, which I thought was kind of interesting. And then I was thinking, and actually, Dr. Galloway, I had talked to her before our show, and she had also seen this type of device, the TTY, but I don't think she's ever experienced the relay operator either. So I thought it was kind of interesting to talk about that. Now, after the operator, California became the first state in 1987 to mandate and establish a state telecommunications relay program. Because before it was like, oh, where whatever state can get it, whatever state can do it, let's do it. But in 1987, California became the first state to mandate that. And then in 1990, finally, the American with Disabilities Act, or the ADA, mandated nationwide that relay services had to be 24/7 in every state and every territory. Because also back in the day, if you had a machine, it was like, oh, whenever somebody, because these were volunteers that were the relay operators. It was whenever they were there, and you actually didn't know when they were going to be there or not. So it's a little, frustrating, I'm assuming. So today, just to let people know, because it was interesting. So there are TTY relay services that can still be reached today by dialing 711 from a telephone or from the TTY machine. Now, again, this is through the telephone system, right? And so you can access, if you've got a landline. Tell me what you told me today about landlines, by the way.
I got schooled on landlines by a patient yesterday. I was proposing the caption telephone to him, and it does come as a landline. And I was like, well, can't you just plug it in? Like, if you had the ability to do a landline at one point. And he was like, that's not how that works. And I was like, okay, well, it was worth a try.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of funny. So definitely there is, there are different things that you can do with landline phones. And we're going to also talk about things that you can do with apps as well. But many TTY users have now migrated into other forms of communication. But again, for people that do not have affordable access to broadband or internet access, then they are still using like the TTY or a relay operator. Last thing before we head into the new things is that in a federal government document, it was stated that real-time text, or RTT, is now is a reliable and effective alternative to TTY technology. So now it's definitely been stated that yes, you can use apps or real-time text to actually call somebody, and it's reliable and efficient. So that was kind of basically the history. So now we're going to head into some of the new stuff that I think Mary Kate has seen before. We do have something, if you see over her shoulder here, we do have a machine, a CapTel machine. It's a caption telephone. Depending on where you are, you're going to either be able to access CapTel, or Caption Call is another company as well. But I'm going to have Mary Kate talk a little bit more about these caption telephones. But actually, before we do that, I do have a really cool video that I'm going to share that shows you a little bit more about how it works. And so we're going to play this real quickly here. All right.
When you have trouble hearing over the phone, it's hard to stay in touch with the important people in your life. The CapTel caption telephones take the guesswork out of your phone conversations.
Hello, this is Janet.
Hi, Janet. It's Mike returning your phone call.
CapTel shows captions of everything your caller says, so you don't miss a thing. With CapTel, you hear the other person's voice.
The game will be at 1:30 instead of noon.
At the same time, captions display throughout the conversation to make sure you catch every word completely and accurately. No more guessing what was said or asking people to repeat themselves.
Okay, I've got it. Where would you like the flowers delivered?
They can be delivered to Charlotte Scott.
CapTel works with a no-cost service to provide the captions, either automatically or with the help of a captioning assistant. There are no monthly fees or service agreements, and your phone bill doesn't change.
Okay, we'll see you Saturday. Bye.
Enjoy talking on the phone again with confidence, thanks to CapTel.
All right. So that's awesome. Hopefully you guys can kind of see that, definitely it is something that can be useful. So we've got it running behind Mary Kate right now, and it's hard to see, but it is kind of on a demo mode. So it's not really taking what we're saying right now, but basically we have it in the office. So if you're local and you want to check it out, come by and check it out, because we have it in our office and our front desk that you can try. But I'm going to have Mary Kate talk a little bit more about the caption telephones.
Yeah, so it's super cool. As you saw in the video, it kind of takes everything that the person on the other end is saying back to you. And so one thing to keep note of, kind of like Dr. Phillips talked about earlier, where there was like that etiquette that you had to follow with the TTY, kind of the same thing. So if it's something that you're comfortable with, or if it's someone you talk to a lot and they know that you have hearing loss, maybe just let them know you got this new system. So there might be a bit of a delay as it captions what you're saying. I'm also notorious for just kind of like talk all the time. And so I think it's nice if someone were to tell me that they had that, so I knew to kind of break up or talk a little bit slower so that the caption machine could do it. And it's super cool. So it's free to obtain it. And really all you have to do is just come visit your audiologist, and we have some forms in the office that we can fill out. And it's shown up on the screen. And so that's really what you would have to fill out. And it just certifies that you've seen an audiologist, you've seen a hearing healthcare professional, and they can say, yes, you do have hearing loss and you would benefit from this telephone. Sends it off to CapTel, and then you get the telephone in the mail, or I think they might come up and help you set it up too, if need be. Or if you didn't want to wait for that process or to come see your audiologist, it is $75, and you can just go ahead and order your own CapTel machine.
Yeah. And they've got different ones. Like the one that we have behind are probably the biggest captions, but they have other ones as well. And again, you don't necessarily have to have a landline. It's an internet-based phone. And so you can kind of plug it in and go, and they'll help everybody set it up in your home. And they're 24/7, I do believe. Yeah. Customer service. So that's really kind of nice as well.
And it's nice with the one with the screen, because you can change the font size and some of the visual features. So it's a little bit more visually accessible as well, which I think is cool. I've seen some old ones where it was just kind of like telephones with really big numbers, and they were like, that's our accessibility. So it's cool to see kind of how they've changed throughout the years and see where we're at now. There are other ways though, for people who don't have landlines or want to get a landline internet-based phone in their house. You can actually do a lot on your cell phones. I am an Apple user, and so actually on Apple now, if you're doing FaceTime calls, you can turn on live captioning with the FaceTime calls, which I think is really cool. And they have a bunch of different things within like the Apple settings and Android as well. I made sure to look it up. And so there's a bunch of different hearing accessibility settings that you can kind of queue up on your Apple or Android phone to help you out. And it does real-time talk captioning, kind of like we discussed earlier, the FaceTime live captioning. Zoom's really big, and so Zoom's been doing live captioning. There also are some other apps that you can use. And so one of them is Transcribe, or it's like a live transcription. And so it does instant captions. It just kind of turns your microphone on and does voice to text, which is helpful. I'm sure we've all had the experience of voice to text not picking up exactly what we want it to. So that's just something to be aware of. But there's also another app called Ava, and it is an instant live caption one, and it's super cool. It's really good for like group chats or like a business meeting where there's multiple people, because it'll actually color code it based on who the app picks up as talking. And so that's really nice, because then if you're looking at it so much, then you can know who's going to be talking and whatnot. That's my mom.
Oh, welcome. Welcome to the show. Yes, really interesting about FaceTime and live caption. I love it too.
Yeah. And the Ava one is also really nice because it works offline. So you don't have to be connected to the internet for it to pick it up, which is nice. There are a lot of apps and just a lot of different ways for you to get captions and live transcriptions, which is great with today's technology. I think going to like your settings on your Apple or Android device and playing around with the hearing ones would be really helpful for a lot of people.
Yeah. So I did get a way to show you at least some pictures of the TTY devices, just so that you can kind of see it. So I'm going to pull it up. I just had to do it by Google here and not actual, but you can kind of see the old style, especially this picture right here. Oh, sorry. Let me actually go to this. This picture right here is the one where I was saying that the handset goes up here, and then you've got this thing where you can type, and then the captions come on this little black screen right here. Crazy, but it worked, and it was really, really nice to have that work for people. So I just wanted to be able to show that up for people. Yeah. So with that, we are going to end our show for today. If you have any questions, or if you're an audiologist or somebody that has a hearing loss that have used something else, or you really, really like a certain app or whatever it is, then go ahead and put it in the comments, share this out so that people can learn a little bit more as well. And with that, we will be back next Thursday at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So thanks for tuning in. All right. Bye.